welcome back. I'm Pat, that Halloween movie collector, and I'm back for another What If. This week's What If? What If for Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. One of the most divisive entries, albeit aside from the Rob Zombie movies, Ends, Halloween 3. This one is just a little bit off the charts, where it really reached. But you know what? Admittedly, it's a guilty pleasure of mine. Maybe the time of life that I saw it, it was 1989. I just got my driver's license, went to the theater to see it with some friends, and very nostalgic time. And I do like the soundtrack. I do like some of the songs that are on it, not just the score itself. But either you love it or you hate it, and there's a lot more people that hate it than love it. But you know what? Let's do our What If for Halloween 5. Number 1, the beginning of the film. Albeit those know there was a completely different introduction to this movie that was filmed with somebody called Dr. Death, because it picks up from the end of part 4 where he's shot and then he falls into the mine and they drop the dynamite, and now you see him escape from the bottom of that mine shaft into a river, floats down a river, comes to a shack with this old hermit there with a bird living there. But in the original version, it was a Dr. Death. It was like he was like a warlock, or like doing like some voodoo stuff, and does this whole incantation to bring Myers back to life. But they didn't like that. You can see that now on one of the releases of Halloween 5. So they reshot it with this hermit. So this hermit comes, opens up the door after hearing something. Myers collapses in front of him. Okay. Weird, right? Flashes forward a year, and he's still there with this hermit. He's just laying there. Well, is he just laying there dead? Wouldn't he be rotting? Is he feeding him? Is he got to go to the bathroom? It's the most confusing thing. But my what if for this is, what if when he collapsed, what if he called the police? What if Meeker and all them came and took Michael into custody then? Or if they tried, it would have been a big battle. Because you remember, he was really weak, and all for, intents and purposes, he was dead, I guess, because the whole incantation part of the original intro was bringing him back to life. But here, he just wakes up, Jamie's moving, because they have this telekinetic bond all of a sudden, which is another thing that's coming up. But what if the hermit just called the police and said, the guy just collapsed here. I don't know, he's in a mask, he's covered in blood. And that's how it turned out. My number 2, and this is where that comes into Jamie Lloyd. I don't know what the hell purpose this was for. What if Jamie wasn't a mute, and she was talking and giving information, or just didn't have that telekinetic bond with them? Because it's not necessary. It's kind of stupid. That's another thing that really bugged me about this movie, the whole telekinetic thing. It's just, you didn't need that. But what if she didn't have that, and she was speaking, and she was actually being helpful to Loomis, because now she doesn't have that telekinetic bond, so she really can't tell him where Myers is. And they were working together to try to find him, because where he is. He's still alive. So what if she didn't have that, and she wasn't a mute? Now this one, number 3, is a real sore spot with a lot of hardcore fans, especially of part 4, who share their love for Ellie Cornell as Rachel Carruthers, and put her right up on the pedestal with Laurie Strode as one of the best final girls in horror. Now, in part 5, you see her. She's there visiting Jamie, because Jamie's in the children's clinic, and the parents are off for a weekend at a cabin, and she's invited, and she's debating whether she should go. She feels bad leaving Jamie, and there's also some stuff going on with her friends. So she was had to make a decision about what she was going to do. So she goes back to her house, and the whole scene plays out where she's taking a shower, and Myers gets in there. She hears stuff, the dog's barking, and then the telekinesis, the little bond between Jamie and Michael kicks in, and she starts drawing. She draws a picture of Max, and of course Loomis is there, and Billy, the little boy that's there, that's her friend, and they reach out to Rachel, and the whole scene plays out where she runs out of the house. The bumbling cops show up. Ugh, don't get me started on that. And then, of course, they look through the house, which obviously didn't look hard enough, because he was just standing right in her damn closet. And that all plays out. But what would have happened? What if she had decided to go away with her family? Say she just packed up her shit when Tina dropped her off and just left and said, I'm going to go visit my family. And she wasn't killed off. Now, what happens? Do the family and her come back when all the shit hits the fan again? Does Tina still become that surrogate final girl for her, or protector of hers? How would it have all played out? Because everybody would have loved for her to keep going on and not get killed because we liked her character. But you got to wonder what would have happened if she just went away, because and she wouldn't have got killed. This one, similar to my other one where I said, what if Jamie wasn't a mute? This one where they touch hands at the end of part 4 and they have this psychic connection. What if they didn't touch hands, and what if they didn't have this psychic kinetic thing between them? So that kind of discussed it in the other one. I kind of combined the two, but there's two separate ones really. So if she didn't have all that going on, it would have played out a lot better, because I don't fall for that that nonsense about him moving his hand when she's moving her hand, and she's doing the whole thing of putting the mask on when he's putting the mask on right before he kills the hermit. Do away with that. What if they didn't have all that and it just played out? I think it would have played out a lot better, because to me that just made it a little bit too hokey, because they kind of dropped it anyway, because part 6, albeit they unceremoniously just kill her off, it's not even with Danielle Harris in part 6, but there's no, she's being chased because she was apparently at Smith's Grove, pregnant and all that. We'll get to Halloween 6 and go down that rabbit hole, but there's no telekinetic bond between the two, because albeit she's only in it for a brief time. But what if they didn't have that telekinetic bond? I think it would have played out a lot better, and things would have probably wouldn't have been as much hate for Halloween 5. But number 5, they're sitting there when they go back to the house after Rachel has been killed, and Tina and Sam. Rachel's nowhere to be found because she's been killed, and they're talking about, we have this house to ourselves. Well, what if they had the party at the Carruthers house and they didn't go to the Tower Farm? Because they had the whole house to themselves. Spitz was getting all the beer, and Mikey, they get their own little party at that house. How would it have played out? Because at the Tower Farm, there were so many people. Michael was on the outskirts, killing people in the barn. He was not going to go in there with all those people until they all leave to go skinny dipping, and the party clears out. What if they had the party at the Carruthers house and Michael started picking people off one by one at the Carruthers house? That would have turned out pretty cool, I think. My number 6, now they're planning for the party later, for the Tower Farm party. And you have Spitz, who works at the Quick Mart. And he's talking to Mike, saying, I can only get 3 cases of beer, otherwise Mr. Casey's going to get a little suspicious. What if he got caught stealing the beer? And they didn't have the beer for the party. Albeit 3 cases for that amount of people. That's not a lot, but maybe they don't drink like me and my friends used to drink. But what if he got caught and got in trouble, got fired or whatever? Called the police. Spitz would have still been alive. Sammy probably would have still been alive, and there would have been no beer at the party. And Mikey probably would have got killed either. My number 7, the whole scene that plays out at Dale's gas station, 5th and Main, where they track down Tina because Jamie's having fits in connection to Michael, because Michael's driving around in the car with the brute mask on with Tina, and she just thinks it's her boyfriend Mikey, who Michael already had just killed. So then, of course, the cops show up and they take her back to the clinic to talk to Jamie, and Jamie's saying, please stay, and so is Loomis, urging her, look, just stay, there's no reason to stay, you can stay here, you can be protected, and nothing's going to happen here, so why don't you just stay, because it's safe. What if Tina stayed at the clinic and didn't go to the Tower Farm party? Would Michael have gone to the Tower Farm party and killed all her friends and killed other people? Would he come directly to the clinic sooner, because he does come later, and there's that big massacre at the clinic, which you don't see, which was filmed, and one of these days they better release it. I'd love to see it. Would he just gone there and went after her if she stayed there? Number 8, Tina again. Okay, Tina decides, you know what, I'm going to the Tower Farm party, and the 2 bumbling cops give her a ride to the Tower Farm party, and they end up sitting there observing, make sure everything's going okay. And towards the end of the party, when they all start to clear out, and before she goes to go get Spitz and Sammy, the one guy in the costume is like, oh, we're all going skinny dipping, why don't you come? What if she went? What if she decided to go skinny dipping and said, no, they're screwing over there in the barn, I'll leave them alone, they can find their own way home? What if she went skinny dipping? She would have survived. She wouldn't have got killed. The whole scene where she found Spitz and Sammy in the barn when to play that, and then finding the two dead cops on top of it, she would have been in the clear. See, it pays to go skinny dipping with a bunch of people because you're obviously going to live. My number 9, when they try to trap Myers, they convince him, not necessarily trick him, but convince him to go back to his house, and they're going to set up this ruse with the police and Jamie as bait to try to capture him and or kill him. So, of course, they're all outside, and Loomis is inside, and then and you start to see Michael come in, and they have their little conversation. He's trying to get the knife out of his hand, saying, "You don't need that. The little girl's here. She can help stop the rage," all that stuff. And Loomis was supposed to get him into that big living room, because what happens when he gets there? He has the big chain net that comes down and traps Myers under it, and then he starts beating him. Okay, well, when they meet, he takes Loomis and throws him off those stairs. What if he just killed Loomis? Then Loomis wouldn't have been able to get the chain pulled and trapped Myers. He could have just very easily just stabbed him and just walked away. I mean, he had plenty of opportunities to kill Loomis. He could have just stabbed him, walked away, and Michael would not have been captured. And the biggest mystery of Halloween Part 5, and one of the biggest things that really irks most people, is my number 10. What if there was no Man in Black? What if this mysterious character wasn't there? I mean, they just manufactured him during filming to give a little bit of mystery, because they really didn't. They were making up the script as they went along. They figured, okay, you know what? We'll just let the next people that do Part 6, let them figure it out. What if there was no Man in Black? Because he only serves any purpose at the very end, where he busts Myers out. What's to say Myers doesn't get busted out? What's to say he's not in jail? You could have made a Part 6 where maybe he escapes, or they transfer him on Halloween, which is what they always seem to do. You know, stop transferring him on Halloween. That's when all the shit happens. So if they lock him up, throw away the key, he's in jail, and at some point maybe he can escape. You did need the Man in Black there to bust him out. That whole scene in where he's in the cell with the mask and playing with the chains, it wasn't a good look for Myers. You know, it's just not good at all. So what if the Man in Black didn't exist? Jamie goes back to the foster parents, albeit they do find out that Rachel's been killed, because obviously she's since disappeared, because they'll find her body in the Myers house. But what if there was no Man in Black, and they just locked him up, and then that's how the movie ended? Because you're going to be like, all right, well, they caught him, he's locked up, then they'll chain him away. They did it when they retconned and did Halloween 2018, that's what they did. Because they negated all the other sequels, and basically at the end of Halloween, they caught him and arrested him. Well, they could have did that in Part 5 and then figured out where it went after Part 6. So I've come up with the whole... Because I find it hard to believe. You look at Dr. Wen in Part 6, you're going to try to sit there and tell me that he walked in with a gun and took out an entire police station full of police officers? I mean, come on. A little far-fetched. If there was a couple of them, maybe, like the assassins in Halloween 3, you had a couple of people dressed in black. But it was only one person. So you're trying to tell me that Dr. Wen took out that entire police department, fine, including Ben Meeker, who was a badass, because he's assumed dead, and so you don't really see it there, but his body's supposed to be laying there dead. You saw more behind-the-scenes pictures years ago in Fangoria. So yeah, find it hard to believe that he took out all those cops. So yeah, that's my biggest one. If there was no Man in Black. So that's my what ifs for Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers from 1989. What are your what ifs? I only do 10 because I just like to keep these videos kind of short. Plus, I like to hear other ideas from people. Comment below. Let me know a couple what ifs you might have come up with that are I love hearing them because it's interesting as hell. You always wonder how things could have went differently, especially with other people's opinions. Like, oh, what if they did this? You know? So be sure to, if you like these videos, make sure to hit that like button. Helps people find this channel. I'm going to be doing one for each movie. Go back and check the other what ifs for the previous movies that I've already done. Next week, I'm actually going to be, the week this comes out, I'll be in Pasadena for Halloween H45. So this is going to actually be released while I'm out in California. And when I get back from H45, I'll have a shit ton of footage for that with my buddies I'm meeting out there and a bunch of other friends. So we'll have a lot of footage coming for H45. Because as we speak and this is airing, I'll be in California. So the week I get back, you'll see my what if for Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Helps a brother out. Don't cost nothing. And check the channel. See if there's other Halloween stuff you like. Horror, comedy, music, all that fun, happy horse shit. There's a ton of stuff here. Check out all the links below. And hopefully you'll find something you like. So until next time, when I get back from H45, I'll have a lot of cool things to talk about. Some cool stuff I'll be buying out there. Meeting a lot of the celebrities. And when I get back, I'll be working on my what ifs for Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Until then, I will talk to you soon.